we had a neighbor across the street that got a puppy. And the reason we knew they got a puppy is because the whole neighborhood knew they got a puppy. It was a puppy that was old enough to run really fast and small enough to be really hard to catch. So somehow or another, this indoor dog snuck out the front door. I'm sure you've had this happen. You're trying to go outside and you don't want anything else to go outside. Maybe it's a dog, maybe it's a cat, maybe it's a child. And you're trying to like not let them out the door so you can get out. Well, boom, dog peels out and is not only sharing the enjoyment of their own yard, it's running through our yard and welcoming us. And so it's running through the yard, and then the neighbors come out and they're like, "Buddy, get back here." They're chasing through the yard and they're running through our yard. They're running back into the woods. They're just like the whole neighborhood is hearing, "Buddy, get back here, get back here." And eventually the whole neighborhood becomes like this search party zone, as if there's a missing kid, like we're all trying to get Buddy in and trying to watch them have it. And, not only did this happen once, this seemed to happen on a regular basis. Like, boom, how does Buddy keep escaping the house? Like, lock the door, or like, be careful when you open that door, do something that's not going to let the dog out, because once that dog gets out, it's really hard to get him back in, and the whole neighborhood knows. And that is a lot about how our words work. Once it comes out, it is hard to, if not impossible, to get it back in. Have you ever said something? I'm sure you have, because I have a lot of. Have you ever said something that as soon as it got out the door of your lips, you were just thinking, if I could just catch that in the air before those vibrations hit the people who'd heard that, I wish I could go grab it. It's too late. It got out the door. It's too late. And then it affects everybody else around me. I can't wrangle it back in. Our lips are an incredibly important gate for our body. In fact, Proverbs says it like this. 13 verse 3, it says this: guard your lips, guard your life. Guard your lips, guard your life. An incredibly important gate. We're going to look at some passages, picking a selection of passages from Proverbs related to lips. And you could do more. There are lots of them. But we're going to pick a handful and read them together. So we'll put the first one up. And if you're watching online, I'd encourage you to read these out loud. If you can see them, if you're in the room, I'd encourage you to participate with me. I'll read the parts in black, and then if you would, you read the words in red that are underlined. Fair deal? Okay. These are all different proverbs about this theme. Too much talk leads to be sensible and keep your mouth shut. Man, no more blunt way to put it than that. And I tell you, it's a recurring fear for me as I talk in front of a mic often, that something will slip out and it will be posted online or it'll be said to a community that I can't take back. Like, man, this gate is really important. The mouth of the godly person gives wise, but the tongue that deceives will be. With their mouths, the godless destroy their but through knowledge, the righteous. A gossip betrays but a trustworthy person keeps a. Some people make cutting, but the words of the wise bring. Wow, that's such a powerful image. Wise people, when they speak, the people who hear their words find healing. Wow. Truthful words stand the test of, but lies are soon. The tongue can bring death, or those who love to talk will reap the. You keep thinking, well, that's got to be the last one. No, there are so many of these proverbs about the tongue, about lips, that we're going to keep going because they all give us a different perspective on it. A gentle answer deflects what? But harsh words make tempers. The mouths of fools are there, and their lips are a snare to their very. Do not join those who drink too much or gorge themselves on. If you find honey, eat just too much of it and you will. That's the last one. Let me offer a summary condensing all of these many, many proverbs about the gate of our lips. Remember, guard your lips, guard your. This really is a very important topic to the writer of Proverbs. You can't escape the value of what happens with the gate of the lips. Here's a summary. The don't do summary for what Proverbs says. Don't lie. Don't let it come out of the gate of your lips. Don't lie. And most of the time when we lie, sometimes people think of bold schemes as like huge lies. But oftentimes when we lie, it's like a percentage of a lie. Like a lot of the things we're saying is true, but it's like that 10% that's not true. That's the lie, but we don't count it as a lie because it's only 10%. Don't lie. Don't flatter. Flattery is pumping other people with compliments that are a little bit selfish motivation. You just want to build them up and butter them up. Don't slander someone. That's it. That is, don't talk in a way that's going to cut somebody else's reputation down. Don't gossip. That's the same thing, except what you're saying is true. But there are some things that are true that are not our job to say. Don't tell secrets that should be kept. People will lose all trust in you. Don't overtalk. That's an interesting one because a lot of these are about what kinds of things not to say, and this is just about the volume of things to say. Don't overtalk. Don't say harsh words. We could probably add in a harsh way. And sometimes we give ourselves license to say what we're saying because it's true. It might be true, but it's harsh. And don't create conflict. I love that verse we read about a gentle answer. My paraphrase, calms things down, but a harsh response riles people up. Oh, and by the way, as we saw in the last couple of verses, this gate of our lips, it's a two-way gate, isn't it? It's not just about what comes out, it's also about what goes in. A very, very important and neglected topic about what goes in, the spiritual importance of what goes in. And the writer is saying, listen, don't overindulge in what you drink and what you eat. And you're going, this writer obviously never went to a church carry-in dinner. But this is important. He's saying, make sure you guard the gate both directions. Here's the summary of do. Don't do those things. Don't let that stuff come out of the gate of your lips, but do, let me summarize. Say things that are honest. Say things that are healing. And say things that are helpful. Sometimes they're honest, but boy, they're not helpful. And sometimes we think we're helping people, but we're actually not telling them the full truth. Doesn't work. Here's a good question to ask. If you're the gatekeeper of your lips and something's trying to come through and get out, here's a good question to ask it. If a sentence is knocking at the gate and you're waiting to let it out and you need to decide, do I let this sentence out into the world? Do I let this dog escape in the neighborhood? Here's a great question to ask, really simple. Is this helpful or harmful? Is this helpful or harmful? Is it going to help someone? Or is it going to hurt? And there are certain kinds of words. Good counselors train people when they're communicating about these kinds of words. There are certain kinds of words that it is very likely will cause offense. very likely that if you say, you always, and then fill in the blank with something that's wrong, boy, that's a harsh way to start. Because likely they don't always do that. You never listen to me. Well, I heard that one. I didn't like it. Why do you think I don't listen to you? You say harsh words. Why did you do this and this and this? Boy, is what I'm saying going to be helpful? Or is it immediately going to be hard? Is it going to stir things up? Is it going to create conflict? Is it going to create tension? We, friends, are the gatekeepers of our lips. And honestly, that's our responsibility to do. But there's something deeper at work here. Jesus said this, and this to me is so much relevant to the gatekeeping of our lips. In Luke 6:45, he said this: what you say flows from what is in your heart. What we say flows from what is in our heart. Gatekeeping is one thing. It's important. But the stuff in here doesn't change. I want to illustrate this. If you've been a part of Pathway for a while, you know that drawing is one of my strengths. So let me offer an illustration here. There's some lips. If you've gone to Pathway for a while too, you should know that sarcasm is also one of my strengths. Sarcasm about my drawing anyway. So this is a head, this is a mouth, and this is a direct route to what? This is a stomach. This is a stomach. If you don't know someone real well and you ask yourself, I wonder what's in that person's stomach. You can't see what's in the person's stomach unless they what? Not tell you, unless they vomit. Yes. Unless they throw up. Now, here's just a general rule of science. If you're not a scientist, pay attention to this. You can only vomit that which you have eaten. Okay? It is impossible to vomit chocolate cake if you haven't eaten chocolate cake. The stuff that's in there is the only stuff that comes out. Does that make sense? So just to illustrate this a little more clearly, I found a colored marker. You only vomit the stuff out of your mouth that is in here, and it comes out. Now, it is possible to throw up in your mouth. Anybody ever thrown up in your mouth? It's kind of gross. You can do and you can stop it at the gate of your lips. You can stop it before it comes out, but it's still in there, right? The only stuff that comes out is what's in there. Now, let me draw a secondary illustration. This poor guy is going to be vomited on. This is our words. And this, Jesus says, is where they come from. The things that are in here come out here. Yes, it's possible to throw up in our mouth. It's possible to think something and to have it come up and to almost say it and to stop it at the gate of our lips. We can do that. It's good. It's a good practice. It's ours to stop harsh words before they get out of our mouth. But they're still there because they're coming from here. I have two lines underneath my house that go to two different areas. And they're both deep and you can't see them because they're under the surface of the house. One of the lines leads to a deep well. It's our water well. Way, way, way below the surface, and deep below the surface, there's this well of water that if you turn on the faucet, clean water comes out. The other line that you can't see goes to the septic. And it also is deep, you can't see it, but they have two very different contents. Anybody ever had the septic back up in your house? The only stuff that comes out is what's in there. And so this takes us to a whole different level. Yes, we are the gatekeepers of our lips. Yes, we've got to manage what comes out. We've got to stop it before it goes out. How do we change our hearts? I know statistically there are some relationships right now that are hearing this that are deeply wounded. Maybe they're functional, but they're not thriving. Because what keeps coming out of here is hurtful. And what I also probably know is if those relationships, if both people care about each other, both people are equally upset about that. The person who hears it and gets hurt is just as upset. But the person who is saying the things that are hurting, they're upset too. They don't want to do that. You ever said something that you saw in the person's eyes? As soon as I said this, I could see it in their eyes. It's like a dagger. I don't want to do that. How do we change this? Proverbs takes us to the gate and says, guard your lips, guard your life. That's our responsibility. We got to go deeper. How do we change our hearts? I'm going to offer a suggestion. First of all, it's to know what we want to come out of our hearts. You and I were designed to be loved unconditionally. And we are designed to love other people. The words that come out of our mouths should be helpful. Isn't that a great image? The words of a wise person bring healing. Should be loving, should be uplifting, should be making other people's lives better. So that's what we want. But then, in order to see heart change, we've got to notice what's going on in there. We've got to notice and we've got to watch in silence what's going on in there. Why do people lie? Nobody lies because they go, you know what? I'm going to try to break the trust of everybody that I know. Let's see how quickly I can do that. They don't lie. They lie because they don't like something about themselves, or they're trying to cover up a mistake, or they're afraid of the consequences of telling the truth. Why do people gossip? They don't gossip because they say, you know what, so-and-so made a mistake. I'm going to add insult to injury and tell everyone else and really destroy their life. No, they gossip because they feel important. They feel bonded with other people. They gossip because now they have something important to share and people are going to listen to them and that makes them feel special. Why do people flatter other people? There's something in here that needs healed. It needs God's Spirit to go, okay, you got to guard the gate, but we got to heal the heart. We've got to watch in silence and see not just the words that are coming out of our lips. The silence helps us notice what words are coming out of our lips. If you really feel like your mouth is out of control, I would suggest being silent for an entire 24-hour period. Wear a t-shirt that says, taking a talk break. And then watch, because when you're silent for 24 hours, you'll start noticing the thoughts. And after you're silent for 24 hours, you'll start noticing the words you say in the midst of the silence, and they'll stand out to you much more. But the same applies with the heart. If we watch in silence, what is going on in my heart? Where is this anger coming from? I was about to spew that anger on somebody else with my words, but it's boiling in here. Where is it coming? God, how can we heal this part? Boy, my insecurity is riling up in here, and it was about to come out in a cutting remark out there. Well, let me stop it here, but God, do this. Do this here. If we watch in silence, this is not a technique. This is healing of God. If we watch in silence, we can find the places in our hearts that need healed. And we can let the Spirit do the healing. Because wouldn't it be nice to be able to just leave the door open? To not have to guard it? This is the whole trajectory of holiness and love and God's transformation of our life. To not have to guard everything we say, because we say freely what we think and we say freely what we feel. And what we feel and think are so aligned with the love of God that we just leave the door open. I'd like to invite us into a deeper healing this morning. We can guard the lips. Let's invite God to change the heart.